Hello everyone, it's UnsungNPC back here with another guide video for you today. We're going to be taking a look at feats again, but this time, instead of caster feats, we're going to be taking a look at feats for strength-based characters. Specifically, obviously, strength-based martial characters, not strength-based casters or anything like that. So let's just dive right in. I want to start with what I think are kind of the necessities for any strength-based character, for any martial character, really, even sometimes. So these are all feats that I think are useful. So we're gonna go with the martial necessities first, and then we're gonna build off of that and go off of specific strength-based necessities. All right, so here we go. Possibly one of the most necessary feats to have for any character whose goal is being a dynamite in combat, okay, is weapon focus. You want weapon focus, okay? It gives you a bonus attack roll to a weapon that you choose from the list, okay? All the different weapons, so many weapons. And I have found this game to have a lot of different kinds of magical weapons compared to Kingmaker, but there are still some weapons that I haven't really seen a ton of. So, you know, there's still some weapons that there aren't a ton of out there. So you'll want to pay attention when you're playing to see what kind of weapons there are. But if you're into like long sword, flails, or there's some good glaives in there. I've seen a couple good great axes. Let's see. I've actually seen a couple of good javelins. Those are like ranged throwing weapons, but they're still, they can still be strength based. Pretty good ones. Lots of good shields I've seen. Lots of really good quarterstaffs, though usually geared towards casters and monks. And a little bit of spear stuff, not a ton. I've seen some war hammers. I've seen some light hammers. Okay. I've seen some throwing axes, some hand axes. I've seen like one or two earthbreakers, a lot of bardishes, some battle axing. Okay, yeah. Anyway, those are some stuff that I've seen. Not a whole lot of like trident or anything like crazier like that. But those are there. But yeah, like weapon focus gives you access to a lot of other feats. So it gets you access to greater weapon focus, which you definitely don't need to take if you don't want to. But if you don't take greater weapon focus, I wouldn't bother with the weapon focus mythic from your mythic path feats, because it gives you a bonus to both weapon focus and greater weapon focus. So if you take it, you might as well take greater weapon focus, because instead of 1, that'll be an additional 2 to your attack roll. So if you really want to take it, you can. I don't think you need it though. Weapon specialization is really nice because it just adds damage +2 to your damage rolls for your weapon that you have weapon focus in. You have to have weapon focus for the weapon before you can take weapon specialization for that weapon. Okay? So you remember, you can't just take the feat for a different weapon and then switch weapons partway through. You have to have weapon focus for the weapon so that you can do specialization. So that one's a good one. And then you've got these other feats that we are going to get into, but you have to have like, basically you need to have like a specialized weapon to use these feats effectively, because that's kind of what they're about. So we'll be taking a look at those. Armor focus. So if you're a strength-based character, chances are you wear armor. If you wear armor and you're a strength-based melee fighter, even if you're not the tank, armor focus, in my opinion, is a necessity. Some people disagree on this. Some people say that if you're not the tank, you're not the one drawing all the hits, maybe you don't need armor focus. I am telling you, that's wrong. You need armor focus, okay? in this game, you get swarmed by so many different creatures in every fight. There's not a lot of fights that only have a couple of people that you're fighting. Most of these fights in this game so far have just been tons of demons and things and cultists fighting you. So you're not going to be able to be a frontline fighter in this game and not have someone attacking you. There's a rogue companion. I've never been able to have him get into a combat without engaging someone that's also engaging him, because there's just so many people that the tank cannot hold it all. So you're gonna want armor focus. Increase that AC, just do it. Okay, it increases it by 1. It's a nice little 1 bonus. 1 can make the difference between getting hit and getting a whiff. Okay, take it. Do it. So blind fight. Blind fight allows you to, if attacker is invisible or hidden, you don't lose your dexterity to your AC, which means you don't become flat-footed, and they don't get the usual +2 attack bonus on you for being invisible either. So that's a whole 4. So 2 AC, or whatever your dex bonus is, plus the 2 for being attacked. That's a whole bonus right there that you get to keep. The Invisible's attacker's bonuses do apply for ranged attacks though, so this is only for melee, when in melee. You also get immunity to gaze attacks. Now, as of finishing 3 acts and some of the 4th act in the game, I have run into exactly 1 enemy that has gaze attacks and none else. Okay? But some people might have other ones, I don't know. I think blind fight is nice to take in certain situations, and I feel like when we get to higher level enemies, there might be gaze attacks. I don't know for sure though, so I can't tell you if this one is a trusted necessity, but in Kingmaker, it sure as hell was a necessity. Okay? So, and I had everyone take blind fight, like including casters. Everyone took it, because gazes can hit you. Okay, gazes can hit you. So, that's up to you. After you take blind fight, you can take improved blind fight, which basically melee attacks, you ignore the mischance for less than total concealment. So unless the person is completely concealed, like invisibility, so like if they're under the effect of blur spell, you get to hit them in full. There's no concealment chance miss for you. And then if you successfully pinpoint the invisible or hidden attacker within 30 feet, the attacker gets no advantages related to hitting you with ranged attacks either, on top of the already melee bonus that they don't get. Now they can't hit you with ranged attacks if you can find them. So that's cool too. It's a little bit, as it says, it's an improved blind fight, right? But still nice, still nice. I haven't run into too many invisible enemies yet either, so I don't know how great this one is. I've seen a couple here and there, but usually they're easy enough to hit, and they don't end up doing a whole lot sometimes. So it just depends. It's kind of a hit or miss. But if you want to spend the 2 feats doing it, go for it. For improved blind fight, I wouldn't do it unless you get like a bunch of, like this class for example, bonus combat feats. If you have double the feats to spend it on, then go for it. Otherwise, I wouldn't waste time on it. I wouldn't. Okay, the next one that is a necessity. Dodge, I think, is more dex related, so I wouldn't really mess around with dodge for a strength-based character. Let's see here. Okay, I want to do like ones that apply to everyone, but there's a couple here that I think are important. Okay, shield focus. If you're using a shield, you take shield focus. Okay, and then you take greater shield focus. All right, so that you'll have a +2, and then you take shield focus mythic. Okay, where you get to add your shield bonus to your touch AC. That is huge, because the thing with shield tanks is that usually their touch ACs are garbage because they don't have dexterity. Usually they just focus on the armor and the shield, and their dex is terrible, so their touch AC is terrible, hot, sweaty garbage. okay? But if you take shield focus and greater shield focus to increase that shield bonus by 2, and then take shield focus mythic, then all of your shield bonuses, including your focuses, get to transfer over to your touch AC, and that's huge. Gotta take it. If you're a shield user, you have to. You have to. It's required. Okay. Missile shield, I feel like, is also good. This is case by case. If you feel like you're getting pelted by ranged attacks very often, then take this, because then once per round, you just negate a ranged attack, which is really, really cool. But if you feel like your tank does pretty well, or ranged attackers usually focus on your backline or something instead and don't really need this feat, then don't waste a feat on it. It's a case-by-case basis. It's up to you whether you feel that it's important or not. So either bother with it or don't. It's hit or miss. I always take it because you never know. And I've only got one shield user anyway, so might as well give them all the shield feats I can. But if you don't want to, don't feel like you really need to. So far, I haven't had issues with ranged attackers, but yeah, you never know. Okay. Alright, let's see here. You're probably not going to need defensive combat training, because defensive combat training is usually for people who don't have full BAB, base attack bonus. And if you're a strength-based fighter character, you're most likely going to have full base attack bonus. But if for some reason you don't, then you can go ahead and take defensive combat training, and it uses your hit dice and the amount of hit dice you have instead of your base attack bonus for calculating combat maneuver defense. Which is great, because it allows you to have like a 1-for-1 like regular fighters do, essentially. So that can be really nice. If you're a 3/4 base attack bonus, if you're 3/4 base attack bonus, I wouldn't bother with it, to be honest. I feel like that's enough base attack bonus to get by. But if you're half, or for whatever reason lower, I don't know, can you go to 1/4? If you're half or 1/4, probably take this. But yeah, it might be nice to have. Even if you're a caster or something, it could be nice to have. Okay, intimidating prowess. Here's where we're gonna get into some stuff here, because intimidating prowess allows you to add your strength modifier to your persuasion skill checks for intimidation, okay, in addition to your charisma modifier. This is awesome, okay? Because if you use a feat, let me find it. If you use a feat called Dazzling Display, okay, with Dazzling Display and a weapon that you have weapon focus in, going back to weapon focus, if you have weapon focus in it, okay, then you can perform a bewildering show of prowess as a full round action. So it takes up the whole round. So you make an intimidation check to demoralize all your foes, which I believe makes them become shaken, and then eventually you can potentially frighten them, okay? And getting intimidating prowess to add your strength to that intimidation check is huge. Getting both modifiers, if charisma and like strength are two of your important stats, getting both of those modifiers is huge. Really makes your persuasion ginormous. Which can really help with doing a dazzling display tank. So that is totally an option. Once you get past that, you have Dreadful Carnage, which is whenever you reduce an enemy to 0 or fewer hit points. So basically when you kill an enemy, you get to make an immediate intimidation check to demoralize all enemies within 30 feet of you. And that's a free action to do that one. So basically, like, you murder someone, then boom, intimidate everybody around you. If they can't see you, then they're unaffected. But if they can see you, then just you murder, scare, murder, terrify, murder, frighten. You know, like it's awesome. It's a great crowd control situation going on. Very, very cool. You've also got Shattered Defenses. Okay, so any shaken, frightened, or panicked opponent which happens from your demoralizing. I can speak. Any of those opponents that are hit by you this round is flat-footed to your attacks until the end of your next turn. So you'll get like a whole round of being able to hit them as if they're flat-footed, which means that they lose their dex bonus to their ACs, including any additional attacks you make this round. So that's huge too, because that means that you can make your first attack, now they're flat-footed, finish your attacks, and then next round, get all your attacks, and you're just pelting the crap out of them without their dex bonuses. So that's awesome. Very cool combination here. Getting Dazzling Display, Dreadful Carnage, Shattered Defenses really allows you to take effect of your Intimidation, and then getting Intimidating Prowess on top of that, and really just scaring the shit out of everyone you fight. Super, super awesome strategy there. I really like those kinds of tanks. I never build them because I find it very challenging. But I'm honestly thinking about doing it on my off-screen playthrough, so maybe I'll give it a go. But honestly, it's great. It's a great strategy to have. It's really fun to play with. Watching them all run away in fear is cool. So, and I will say, will saving throws, okay, are like some of the weakest for most of the demons that I've encountered. For all of like the minion demons, like the Dredges, the Babos, all of those types of demons, just the little guys that just come up and fight you. Not the bosses, but like the little minion demons. I have found their wills to be some of the weakest saves that they have. Okay, so Fortitude's usually pretty solid. Reflex is solid on about half of them, but will saves tend to be pretty low. So this could be an effective strategy for you. Okay, and then Dazzling Display Mythic. I honestly don't know what this does. You can use Dazzling Display as a standard action, or a move action, or a swift action, taking penalties to your persuasion. I'm not going to tell you whether or not to do that. We're going to do a whole Mythic Feats thing at some point, but that's there, I guess. So that one's great. Okay, let's go back up to Power Attack. So if you're a damage dealer strength character, then you're probably going to take a look at Power Attack and everything that comes after it. Okay, Power Attack allows you to sacrifice a attack bonus. Okay, so you suffer a one penalty on all melee attack rolls and combat maneuver checks to gain a +2 to damage rolls. If you're making an attack with a two-handed weapon, this becomes it adds 50%, so it becomes a +3 bonus damage. Yeah, if you're making an attack with a two-handed weapon, a one-handed weapon using two hands, or a primary natural weapon that adds 1.5 times your strength modifier on damage rolls. So if you're using any of these bigger weapons, then you get a added 50% to that damage. So it'll become a +3, and then it'll increase as you increase your damage. This bonus damage is halved if you're making an attack with an offhand weapon or a secondary natural weapon. So if you're dual wielding, then you're only going to get the +1 damage on each weapon. It's going to be halved, okay? Which makes sense. It's still the +2. It's just split between the weapons, essentially, right? And then when your base attack bonus reaches +4, and every 4 points thereafter, your penalty increases by 1, and the bonus damage increases by 2. So you'll keep getting a penalty, and then keep increasing damage. So this is really for like major damage output situation. And so Power Attack for me is hit or miss. It really depends on how good your attacking is. If you can really boost up your attack, then I think the penalty is worth it. Otherwise, meh. But what's great about Power Attack is the feats that it leads to, right? So first, we have Cleave. Cleave, I love cleaving. I love to cleave, guys. I love it so much. As a standard action, you can make a single attack at your full base attack bonus against a foe within reach. If you hit, you deal damage normally and can make an additional attack against a foe that is adjacent to the first and also within reach. Okay? When you use cleave, you do take a -2 to your AC. So this is definitely not to use with your tank. This is definitely to use with like a two-hander, preferably a two-hander anyway, for that damage. And then basically you take the penalty to your AC and then you get to use cleave, and if you hit your dude, then you get to take another hit on the dude next to it. And you just go bang bang like that. So cleave is awesome. I love cleave. I actually low-key gave power attack and cleave to my, in my game, Sela, I gave her the horse instead of the divine weapon bond. And I gave the horse cleave. And you know what? The horse cleaves the shit out of a lot of people because my horse's AC is stacked. So it doesn't matter, the penalty is not that big of a deal. And I just cleave away. It just does its little cleave on its bite attack all the time. And it's glorious. It's glorious. Highly recommend the horse cleave if you can. Otherwise, save it for two-handers. I honestly wouldn't even bother with one-hander strength users at all. It's just, you're either a tank or a two-hander strength user, in my opinion. I think if you're using a one-handed weapon, you're kind of wasting your potential. But that's just me. Okay, cleaving finish. If you make a melee attack and your target drops to 0, as a result of your attack, you can make another attack using your highest base attack bonus. So this is awesome. This is just a passive. This is automatic. You don't even have to cleave to use this. You have to take cleave first, and then you can take cleaving finish. And then when you have cleaving finish, it's just anytime you drop a character to 0 or lower, and you get to make it. You get to make another attack on someone nearby. So you just instantly cleave, which is awesome. It's so nice. It's such a nice passive to have. My horse uses this all the time as well. And what's cool is that you can cleave, and then you get the bonus attack. Okay, and then you can get cleaving finish, and then get another bonus attack. Cleaving is so fun, guys. It's a chain reaction of gloriousness. And then improved cleaving finish. You can use cleaving finish any number of times per round. So basically, you could just get like a kill chain. So if they're all weak enough to where you could kill one and you just keep killing one by one by one by one, then you're just gonna keep killing down the row like a boss. I love it. I love it so much. Super, super fun. God, so good. So good. The other thing you can get is Sunder Armor. This one's iffy, okay? And here's why. This is great if the demons actually wear armor, okay? Here's the deal. Most demons do not wear physical armor, but instead just have natural armor, okay? So this isn't going to be that great most of the time. But if you get this, basically what happens is you use a Sunder Armor combat maneuver, and if you're successful, they lose their armor bonus for 1 round. Okay, this basically turns your attack into a touch attack, which is crazy. And then for every 5 by which your attack exceeds your opponent's CMD, the penalty lasts 1 additional round. So Sunder Armor could last multiple rounds if you roll high enough, which is cool. And then Greater Sunder Armor gives you a +2 on checks made to attempt Sunder. And then if you successfully perform a Sunder, the penalty lasts for 1d4 rounds, +1 for every result by 5 exceeding, like before. But it starts out at 1d4 instead of just 1 round, and you get a +2 to doing Sunder Armor, which is huge. So if you want to try that out, feel free to try it out. I can't tell you that it's useful yet because I've barely run into demons with armor, but if you think it's useful, I say go for it. It could be fun. It could be fun. Okay? The other thing Power Attack gets you is Bull Rush. Okay, Bull Rush is a feat where you attempt to push someone straight back without doing any harm. And if you get a high enough roll, you can push it further and further and further. Okay? And then the thing to note though is that when you push an enemy, they don't provoke attacks of opportunity. So like a cheese strategy would be to push them through your party so that they could get provoked by it. They could provoke everyone's attacks of opportunity, but it doesn't work like that. If you push it, it's being pushed out of harm's way. It doesn't get harmed. It's just a pushback. Okay? Greater Bull Rush gives you a +2, and whenever you Bull Rush an opponent, his movement does provoke attacks of opportunity from all of your allies and you. So this would be where you take this and then you push him through your party, and then as he goes through your party, everyone is like, and just smacks him down, which is cool, a really cool one. So I think together they're both worth it, but if you don't want to spend 2 feats on it, then I wouldn't even bother with the first one, to be honest. And there are some archetypes here and there that kind of lend themselves better to something like Bull Rush, so you might want to try one of those instead, if you can avoid wasting a feat. So just a light little push, right? Okay. Let's get into some other necessity things here. Some of the other stuff that's available is all of the critical hit stuff, right? So the critical hit stuff is, where does it go? It starts at critical focus, I believe. Okay. If we look at critical mastery, you need critical focus. Okay. So you take critical focus. Where is it? Okay. So critical focus. So critical focus gives you a +4 to confirm critical hits, which is huge. Because whenever you get a crit, you then have to confirm the critical hit to make sure that it actually works. So this gives you a +4 to confirm that crit. And when you get critical hit focus, you can then start taking these different kinds of criticals. So you've got blinding critical, where when you critical hit, your opponent is permanently blinded. A successful fortitude save reduces it to dazzled for a number of rounds. Exhausting makes them exhausted. Sickening makes them sickened for 1 minute. Staggering becomes staggered for 1d4 rounds. If they succeed a fortitude save, the duration of the staggering only is 1 round. And then this one makes them fatigued. If they're already fatigued or exhausted, this does not stack on and make them exhausted. You have to do exhausting critical for that. Okay? And then critical mastery is that when you score a critical hit, you can apply the effects of 2 critical feats in addition to the damage dealt. So to take critical mastery, I'm pretty sure you have to have 2 of those critical feats first. Okay, so if we take a look at it up here, yeah, you have to have critical focus, you have to be a fighter of level 14. Classes will tell you if they transfer over into fighter levels or not. And for example, the war, I want to say the war priest gets fighter levels. Don't quote me on that. I'm going to do class videos where I get more in depth with those, but there are classes that get fighter levels if they're not fighters. And you have to have 2 of the following critical feats, and then you can take critical mastery and apply both of those that you've chosen. That one's really good. The critical stuff is awesome because, especially if you have characters that crit a lot, which can totally happen, then it's really nice to get all of those added debuffs on those critical hits, because sometimes the critical hit doesn't kill, and when it doesn't kill, you know, you still want them to be affected by something. So those are really nice to have. I totally recommend going the critical focus route. If you are a pure damage dealer, then you need to take the critical focus feats for sure, for sure. Other feats. Okay, let's see. We've got the trip feats. So the trip feats work similar to the other combat maneuvers we've looked at, right? But the difference is this time you're tripping someone, right? Okay? And trip is what it does. It knocks them prone, okay? That's what trip is. If you get trip, then you can take greater trip, which gives you a +2 to it, and then whenever you trip them, it also will provoke an attack of opportunity with greater trip, which is really cool. You can get trip mythic, you can get pummeling bully. That's a pummeling style feat, but we're gonna do monk style feats in a monk video. I'm not gonna go over them here, okay? But that is an option, okay? And then, so trip, and there's also dirty trick. Dirty trick is the other combat maneuver. Where'd you go? There's also disarm. So dirty trick basically gives you the ability to blind, entangle, or sicken someone. The condition lasts for 1 round, or more than that if you do a high roll. And then you can get greater dirty trick, where it initially lasts for 1d4 rounds. All right. And then you've got disarm. Okay, and disarm. If your combat maneuver is successful, the target cannot use his weapon for 1 round. So you make the combat maneuver check, and it will make it to where they lose their weapon for 1 round. And then greater disarm makes it towards 1d4 rounds. So you're getting the pattern here: 1 round, then 1d4 rounds, right? And then those rounds increase if you get a high enough roll above their combat maneuver defense. So yeah, the combat maneuver feats are great, but they're very circumstantial, tricky to use feats that you gotta be careful with. Because you don't want to waste a turn trying to do them and then nothing happens. So really make sure you can figure out what the defense of your opponent is, what your bonus is, and really mastering that to get the most out of those maneuver feats that you can. There's also double slice. Double slice is really if you're a dex and strength based character, because you have to have dex to take it, but then you can also add your strength to damage rolls with your offhand. So this is really if you do both. A good example of this is Greybor in the game. He's a companion you get. He dual wields, and he is a strength based character, but he has some dex, and so double slice allows him to be able to use his strength on his damage rolls with his offhand weapon, which normally you cannot do. So that one's a nice one, but it's very situational as well, and I don't even know if I would take it most of the time. Okay, now hammer the gap. So when you make a full attack, each consecutive hit against the same opponent deals extra damage equal to the number of previous consecutive hits you have made against the opponent this turn. Everyone scoffs at this feat and says that this feat is garbage. I think if you're using 2 weapons, if you're a dual wielder or you're using a double weapon, then hammer the gap is great, because if you have high enough attack to where all of your attacks are hitting, then the damage is going to increase with each attack. I don't know why people just like throw this one away all the time, but like you can get this super early on, and it's such a good feat if you're using so many attacks. Like, why would you not want hammer the gap? Especially if you're an animal, like if you can shapeshift or you have animal companions, hammer the gap is great because you get to use all of your natural attacks in a round. So then you have hammer the gap, then all of those natural attacks damage gets increased as long as you keep getting hits. That's awesome. People think this is crazy, but I think this feat is great. I love it. I recommend it on every character that has so many attacks. I take hammer the gap every time. Every time. You gotta take it. You got to. Okay? Okay. Penetrating strike. This is a weapon focused fighter level required feat. Okay? Your attacks made with weapons selected with weapon focus ignore up to 5 points of damage reduction. And then greater penetrating strike is up to 10 points of damage reduction. Okay. This one, do I recommend it for this campaign specifically? I'm going to say no, and here's why. Most enemies you fight, it's easy to bypass the damage reduction. All you have to do to bypass it most of the time is either lawful or good weapons, holy weapons, radiant weapons, okay? And you can find those or enchant those very, very easily. And so would I recommend Penetrating Strike or Greater Penetrating Strike? No. There are some enemies that have damage reduction flat, okay, with no exceptions, but it's highly unlikely, okay? They usually have exceptions. If they have exceptions, they can be worked around without wasting 2 feats. That being said, if you take Penetrating Strike, I would take both of them, because 5 points of damage reduction for the late game is not going to be enough to do anything. You're going to want 10 points of damage reduction bypass, okay? But that's up to you. That's up to you as a viewer to decide if that's worth it to you. I don't think it is. You've heard it here. But if you want to, then you can go for it. Okay? Not going to go over teamwork feats in this one. Shield Bash. Okay. Shield Bash. Basically, this gives you an attack with your shield as if you're using 2-weapon fighting, which means the 2-weapon fighting feats do apply to this. So if you do shield bashing, you're going to want the 2-weapon fighting feats as well. Just saying. A light shield deals 1d4 damage. It's considered a light weapon, which means the penalty for 2-weapon fighting will be less. And then a heavy shield does 1d6 and is considered a regular one-handed weapon. And then a tower shield cannot be used to shield bash. Then you can get bashing finish. So whenever you score a critical hit with a melee attack, you can make a shield bash attack against the same target as a bonus free action. That's nice. That's really cool. So basically, you could do your attacks, and if you get a critical hit, then you just get another shield bash. So you could attack, shield bash, oh crit, shield bash again. Or you can attack, crit, shield bash, and then your normal shield bash. So getting more shield bashes out of your attacks, which is pretty sweet. You got Shield Master. You do not suffer any penalties on attack rolls made with a shield while you are wielding another weapon. Okay? Add your shield's enhancement bonus to attack and damage rolls made with the shield as if it were a weapon enhancement bonus. That is insane. Okay? If you're doing shield bashing, you gotta take Shield Master. Being able to take your enhancement bonus for your AC and actually apply it to your weapon and damage roll, that's huge. If you have a high AC shield, that's a lot of extra attack and damage being put on there. That's crazy. So that's really neat. That's really neat. Oh, and then the improved critical feats. I forgot to mention improved critical. Improved critical allows you to double your threat range for any weapon. So if you have a threat range of 20, then you have to get a 19 or 20, okay? And if it's 19 or 20, then you double it and it becomes 17 to 20 to get a critical hit. That's basically telling you what number you have to roll to get a critical hit. So you can do that for the shields as well, apparently. And then, yeah, get weapon focus, weapon specialization, all that jazz for the shields. So shield bashing, viable. In my opinion, very viable strategy. Totally. And then what you want to do for most, there's going to be some feats in here where the prerequisite is combat reflexes. Combat reflexes allows you to make an additional number of attacks or opportunity per round equal to your dexterity bonus. Okay, and you can also make them even if you're flat-footed. Okay, there are some feats that we've gone over in here that require combat reflexes. So make sure to take combat reflexes depending on the feats that you're looking for. So whenever you're picking feats in the beginning, take a look at everything, try to plan it out, and if you need certain feats to make things work, go for it, right? That's what we want. We want to make sure you get everything you need so that you can really be the most effective character that you can. But yeah, awesome. These feats are great. Okay, these feats are great. Very, very great. You can really make great strength-based characters in here. As well as other characters. But yeah, strength-based characters, they're viable. There's a lot of good feats, a lot of ways to make them strong, to make a good tank, to make a good two-hander, and Even sometimes a dual wielder or a shield basher. You never know. Eventually we will be going over all the mythic feats and powers and stuff, and you'll be able to see the mythic feats and how they can help boost some of this stuff. We did talk about a few of them today though, so that's great. But they can really help change the game for strategizing for a character. But anyway, this is the strength-based feats. If I missed anything or you felt like something wasn't explained well enough, feel free to let me know in the comments, okay? It's happened in a lot of my older videos before. I'm trying to get better at it, but you never know, it could happen again, right? So let me know if I missed something that you think is an important feat. I didn't go over weapon proficiencies on purpose. I didn't touch on dodge or endurance or on any of those more basic feats. So if you're gonna mention those, don't worry, I did that intentionally. But yeah, anyway. Also, if you like this video, you thought it was helpful, check out my other guide videos that I've posted and that I will continue to post. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to be on the lookout for future content. And come check out my streams. I'm streaming every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I have a community Discord that you may free to join, and it's in the description below. So feel free to check that out. Anyway, I'm UnsungNPC, and I will catch you guys in the next one.